Herot and I am newscaster Lori. Today we'll discuss what really happened between Beowulf and Victoria, Grendel's mom. The question on everyone's mind is, how did the battle and the events that played up to it really happen? Later today we will look further into the events of that day. But before we get into that story, we have our traffic report. Southbound 42, we have an overturned cart that's blocking both lanes. Traffic's lined up for miles. Westbound 27 near Rothgar's River, we have two unknown parties that have gone to battle. Use extreme caution if going that way. And now, we have our top story on Herot's monster. To help us uncover the events surrounding this incident, our top reporter will be interviewing the great warrior Beowulf and the mother of the feared monster, Victoria. Some may be wondering, how did Grendel's mother get here? After all, she was killed by Beowulf and sent to hell. Well, Victoria seduced Satan and had her come to the land of the living for this special interview. But we won't give you too many details on that one. Our first interview will be that of the great geek Beowulf.
Beowulf, will you please describe the events leading up to the battle with Victoria?
Well, I was off fighting a terrible sea monster, and the only way to kill it was to stab it in the heart. But the heart was blocked by the monster's hundreds of heads.
That's great. Can we, continue? How'd you hear about Grendel?
Well, I was getting to that. I heard from far and wide of a terrible monster that was tormenting the Danes. So, I knew it was my calling for glory. I was meant to come save these terrible people. So, I boarded my wooden dolphin with 14 of my greatest heroes and traveled the Whale Road to the land of the Danes. There I presented myself to Hrothgar, king of the Danes, and told him of my marvelous deeds. One of them was the time where...
Just continue with the highlights.
If we must be so brief, fine.
I devised a plan where we would party in the hall and wait for the not-so-great hell heathen to arrive. He arrived after we all went to sleep. He ripped a man into pieces before I could even blink. I leapt to my feet and grabbed the terrible fiend's arm and held onto it with all my strength. He howled and made feeble attempts to escape, for he was not great enough to stand against me. I wrenched his arm out of its socket and stood holding it in triumph as the monster, mortally wounded, fled. We had the best party in the mead hall that night. I was the hero, and everyone except for the jealous coward, Unferth, wanted my attention. Then Hrothgar, king of the Danes, gave me many precious gifts. I received 3 brown horses, 6 white horses, 4 black horses, 10 short silver swords, 10 long silver swords.
So what happened the next morning?
Oh, nothing much. Grendel's evil mother, Victoria, came and carried off Hrothgar's friend, Ashir.
But weren't you sad when you heard about Ashir's death?
No, I was excited. I could go into battle with Grendel's mother and get even more honor and treasures for myself.
Okay, so what happened next?
We left immediately for the not-so-lovely swamp where Grendel's mother, Victoria, lives. When we arrived, I put on my armor and prepared to leap into the water and find Victoria so I could avenge the death of Ashir. Then, my jealous rival, Unferth, approached holding his mighty sword, Runting. He offered it to me with a sheepish smile, stating that I was in greater need of his sword than he was. After accepting the sword, I leapt into the water and began to swim towards the murky bottom of the swamp, where Victoria awaited me, her jaws wide, dodging monsters and body parts the whole way.
When I reached the bottom, I saw Victoria, and she gave me a not-so-friendly glare. I grabbed Runting and charged at her, but the blade would not cut her through. She was too strong. She grabbed a sword and swiped it at me, but my vest protected me. Then I saw a magical giant sword lying at the murky bottom of the swamp. I grabbed it and cut her head off with one swipe. Then I saw Grendel's body lying nearby. I cut his head off too, and his blood melted the sword, for it was like acid.
My goodness, what happened next?
I swam back to the surface and met my men. It took 3 of us just to carry Grendel's head back to Herot. There, I showed it to Hrothgar, and we stuck it on a pike.
Thank you for sharing your side of the story. It was very, detailed.
Now we will interview the victim of this revenge, Victoria, the mother of Grendel.
Thank you for joining us, Victoria. How would you describe the events that led up to your death?
That mean, vicious, awful, horrible, malevolent, malicious, spiteful, terrible, awful brat, Beowulf
think you could call him anything else?
I could. Let's see.
Just kidding. That certainly is a different account than what Beowulf told us. I'm terribly sorry about your son. Do you think he deserved to die?
Did he deserve to die? Did he deserve to die? My darling little Grendel was not doing anything to those rotten soldiers. He was merely trying to fit in, and they would not allow him. So he took revenge on them. It is part of life, and it's only natural for him to do that. We are, after all, descendants of Cain.
Okay, can you please explain why you killed a shear?
It was revenge for Grendel's death. It's only fair. For what they did to him, I should have killed them all.
Thank you for your time. I understand you must be going back to hell.
This has been Herot's Highlight Story of the Day. Thank you, and good night.